Well, Jordan's Foreign Minister, Ayman Safadi, joining me now from Amman. Thank you for joining us. We just saw the US Secretary of State with the Qatar Prime Minister. That was after, sir, he met with King Abdullah earlier. And you were in that meeting. What was discussed? And frankly, you know, what was the atmosphere of the meeting? What is realistic at this point?
Good evening, Becky. As you said, Secretary Blinken was here. I met with His Majesty. I met with them as well. Obviously, the focus is how do we get out of this nightmare that has engulfed Gaza and the whole region? How do we de-escalate? How do we ensure that humanitarian supplies get to the hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza who have no access to food, water, shelter? And pretty much how do we get out from this very dangerous cycle of violence that time has proved once and again will only make things worse. We have to think of how do we end this dangerous escalation, but we also how do we make sure that we get to a point where we can avoid this from happening again. That has been our effort for years, and I think now it's clear for everybody that violence will only get more violence. War is not the answer. Let's deal with the immediate now, stop this catastrophe, and again, think of the day after.
And I have to say, you know, Foreign Minister, you and I speak on a regular basis, and you have been warned. You've been warning of you know, this worrying escalation in violence over the last months, over the last years, and you've warned that we could be facing some sort of catastrophe, and it feels like we are on the brink of that. I want to talk about the escalation around the region, or the potential escalation, momentarily. Let's start, though, specifically with Gaza and what happens next. The State Department has said that Antony Blinken is putting pressure on Israel to establish safe zones for civilians. What do you understand is being done to prevent harm to civilians should this ground incursion and further air attacks really start to put significant pressure, more significant pressure on the civilians of Gaza?
Becky, as you said, not only did we warn of such a terrible moment engulfing the region, but as you know, His Majesty has been working around the clock to avoid this moment. Unfortunately, our efforts did not get us to the point where we were going to get, and we are where we are. And let me start, first of all, by reconfirming, reaffirming the long-standing Jordanian position that we condemn the killing of civilians by both sides, that every life matters, whether Palestinian or Israeli, and that the more lives we lose, the more difficult it will be to get away from this again abyss to which we've been pushed. Again, the priority now are 2.3 million people in Gaza, innocent people, women, children, kids. We cannot victimize them again. They're already victims of circumstances to which they've been pushed again. So the priority now, get immediate humanitarian supplies. And when it comes to safe zone, we have to be very careful as well. It has to be within Gaza. We cannot have a population displacement. We cannot have population transfer. And we need to make sure that now, stop the de-escalation, get humanitarian supplies, work on a humanitarian corridor for supplies to come in, stop the fighting, and then start working for our big move as peace advocates. And our big move as peace advocates to counter the move that has been forced on us is to
Foreign Minister, so let's talk about these two issues. Yeah, let's talk about these two issues. Getting humanitarian aid in and evacuating Gazan citizens. Now, they are being told to evacuate to the south of Gaza at present. What you are saying is that Jordan does not want to see the evacuation of citizens out of Gaza, correct?
Absolutely. And again, Becky, 1.2 million people in North Gaza. Where are you going to evacuate them to? Where will they go? Again, Egypt,
okay,
Jordan,
let's talk about aid. Let me. I understand that. How are you going to get aid in, and who's going to provide that aid?
We're all working to provide aid. We're talking to Egypt. Israel has to allow aid to come in. We've already sent a shipment to Egypt just in case to be ready when the borders are open. We're also working on getting Big Jordan also a hub to get aid through the West Bank and into the Gaza when the right moment arrives and when the fighting stops. That is imperative. We also looking at UNRWA, and please allow me to emphasize the important role UNRWA is playing. UNRWA has already lost 12 lives in the conflict of Gaza as they were trying to provide food and water to over 200,000 people who flooded its schools and shelters. We yesterday asked the government to donate to UNRWA for Gaza. We offered $4.5 million. We need everybody else to come in and help UNRWA because nobody can do what UNRWA is doing there.
Let me just, before we talk about the concern about escalation around the region, and you've seen protests in Jordan today and over the past days, and I want to talk about just how worried you are about what you see around the region. Before we do that, I just want to be absolutely clear about this. You know, the King Abdullah, His Majesty, met with Antony Blinken today, and what you are telling me is that there is no concrete detail as of yet on the evacuation of Gazan citizens, but Jordan wants to see those accommodated within Gaza, not leaving Gaza. And you are saying there is a need for, but not yet an established humanitarian aid corridor into Gaza, correct?
Correct, Becky.
Right. Let's talk about what's going on around the region. We really are witnessing an outpouring of anger across a lot of the Arab world, including in your own country, sir. How concerned are you about violence spreading at this point?
I mean, again, we're extremely concerned about this conflict spreading. Of top priority for us is the West Bank. Then we have Lebanon, because if the level of violence and war we see there spread into those territories, then the whole region is going to be engulfed. Popular reaction is going to be more aggressive. Again, civilians are civilians from both sides, but now the images that are coming out of Gaza not only are breaking the hearts of everybody, as did the previous images, but again are pushing towards anger, which is going to manifest itself further. We're trying to make sure that people have the right to express themselves, but also working around the clock to make sure that we find a breakthrough in de-escalating and preventing this terrible situation from spilling over into the West Bank and Lebanon as well.